So I'm delighted to be first out of the box for the groups. It confirms my stubborn conviction that collections are, at the very least, the start of libraries, if not their heart. But I'll use this short presentation to talk about the work of the group in terms of sharing expertise and in terms of building a shared infrastructure. And perhaps there should be a question mark at the end of this title, as you'll see at the end. But let me introduce the group first. We have representation from 11 of the 13 Cornell libraries. So we have Ronan from NUIG, Yvette from Maynooth, Julia from UCD, Moira and Isabel from Queen's, Miriam from DCU, Bernadette from the Royal Irish Academy, Mary from UL, Honora from the National Library, Anne from TUD, Cronon from UCC, and I'm from Trinity. And I think most of these colleagues are in the audience, so I'll give them a quick wave. I may need your help later for the Q&A. So some of you, well, you will all be aware that our group is not the only one that is concerned with collections. So you might want to ask, which collections? Because we're an ambitious bunch of people, we'd like to say everything. All information resources that libraries hold, subscribe to, or link to. And this is not just a facetious statement. A lot of our investigations do require us to cast the net very widely. But when it comes to actual collection items, we focus on what's sometimes called the mainstream collections. So the books and journals that are in print, whether in print or in e, at the point of purchase and not too old. The kind of material that is likely to be duplicated across 2 or more Cornell libraries. And the kind of material, therefore, that lends itself to establishing commonalities in terms of overlaps, in terms of complementarities of content, in terms of compatible standards for cataloging, for storage, and so on. And it's also the kinds of material that lends itself to investigating efficiencies and gains that can be achieved by working across a network. So think of coordinated deselection and preservation commitments, unified discovery in a union catalog, and even centralized storage or shared access to the shared collections. So this is what we do. We meet at least quarterly. We exchange ideas and experiences, and sometimes we organize workshops and training events. And perhaps most importantly, we investigate these things, the network efficiencies and gains, and then we write feasibility studies and make recommendations to the board. So here's some examples. Over a decade ago now, a predecessor group, I suppose, spent a number of years investigating collaborative storage and wrote a very, very extensive report, which was then distributed in June 2009. And really, it's kind of a seminal piece of work. It's the foundation for our current thinking still. Yeah, we go back to it. More recently, we've had a survey of interlibrary loan services in Cornell libraries. And one of its conclusions was that if we really want to sort of up the level of collaboration, a union catalog would be very helpful. We've also organized a seminar on collection management in Ireland. One of the delightful presentations was on the new storage facility, the ARC, in the University of Limerick by Ciara McCaffrey. You can see the image here on the left. And another highlight, of course, was the keynote by Ulrich Niederer and Daniel Chirren from Switzerland, who presented to us the Swiss shared or collaborative storage facility that they had built. And just by the way, the 2 speakers were quite keen to offer help and advice and guidance to us, should we want to contact them in the future again. Arising directly out of that collaborative storage report in 2009 was actually some concrete actions, going beyond just reports. And that is establishing a distributed print archive. and we started with indexing and abstracting journals. So now we have a few libraries who have committed to keeping certain runs of these journals in perpetuity on behalf of all of CONL, and that then freed up other libraries to dispose of their issues if they so wished. We picked up this thread more recently and looked at a set of journals held in JSTOR as well, so there's digital equivalents. But we concluded that actually there wasn't enough of an overlap. There wasn't enough of an efficiency gain here to act on that. And then we investigated further our collections and found that there aren't any further quick wins. So to do more distributed print archive activities, we'd really have to delve much deeper into our collections and also increase the power of our tools. So perhaps most significantly in my mind, because most recent as well, is the Union Catalogue report, again, based on an extensive investigation of what Union catalogues can look like and what kind of effort they take. And the report went to board detailing the different kinds of catalogue that can be built and the associated pricings. And unfortunately, but maybe understandably, the decision was that now is not the time. So that sort of initiative is on ice until it is unfrozen again. I just want to pause briefly on one of the functions of the group, which is to share experiences and expertise. And that really came into its own, I think, with the pandemic, where we all suddenly faced a new situation completely together. And we went from kind of struggling to organize 4 meetings a year to meeting very regularly. I think at the peak, it was every 4 to 6 weeks. And I think we all felt it was just so incredibly valuable to identify the challenges together and to exchange the experiences, find out what the others were doing, get inspiration, copy from each other, and also just find some consolation that by and large, we all sort of came to similar conclusions. Now, Alison has already covered what we are going to do under the new strategy. So I'll just, I think in the interest of time, I won't go into the detail here. Just to note that the feasibility of a CONL collection development policy, that is really the most concrete piece that we have identified and we're delving into first. So we have organized a workshop in about 2 weeks' time. We will get between 1 and 3 representatives from each of the CONL libraries, and we will give them some homework, so they'll come prepared to the workshop. And we are delighted that Dr. Stella Butler, the former recently retired librarian from University of Leeds, has agreed to facilitate this workshop. And then soon after the workshop, we will follow up with recommendations to the board. So I'm very excited about this, and let's see what it will bring. So in conclusion then, we have this contrast. We have here on the left, the vision for shared infrastructure, and many of these items are not new. Some of them have been around for decades, I think. You can see here I symbolized it with, again, Limerick's wonderful modern storage facility, even if it's not collaborative. And if we're honest, especially the top 2 rows there from the Union Catalogue to seamless metadata exchange, we haven't really made much progress. So we do need to pay attention to what's here on the right, which is symbolized by a fiction collection from the 1960s in Trinity. And I hasten to add, these books are no longer stored like that. They're in lovely storage boxes now. Yeah, and some of these barriers are hard, like the conspicuous absence of cache in CONL libraries, whereas others maybe are softer, but shouldn't be underestimated. I think that a sharing culture needs to be fostered, needs to be practiced, and it's not always that easy every day to think beyond your own library and think also in terms of the CONL libraries.
Your time is running out, Christoph, just to let you know.
Yeah, I'm actually done. So just to muse that, you know, sometimes these barriers seem too high for us. Sometimes you wonder whether the ambitions here on the left are just nice sound bites, or but actually hold very little water for Connaught. So I think it is true. We do need to dissect them. We do need to analyze them. We do need to see, is this really for Connaught? But then I look at reports that we have written, and you know, I see the potentials again. And every time I do that, I get excited by the potential, and I think, yes, we really should make best efforts to do more and to build infrastructures. And so in that sense, I'm very much looking forward to our workshop in 2 weeks' time as well. And I'll hand back to you, Monica, and say thank you.